Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. This is my plant workshop area, which is now comprised of over 100 common and rare tropical plants. This dark corner of my basement receives no natural sunlight, so all of my houseplants receive light from grow light. So I just thought I'd take you on a short little tour showing you all of my tropical plants downstairs here and just how this area came to be. The funny thing about this is I never even planned to have all these plants downstairs here. I simply wanted an area where I could tinker with my plants, and I got this plant table, this little workshop table here, and it's kind of morphed into more of a tropical oasis downstairs. Here is the access point into the back of my plant table here, but I think I'm going to start right here because there are two things that are really special to me. The first thing is this table itself. It was made by my grandfather. I'm not entirely sure how he acquired the kind of live edge tabletop itself, but I know he made the base or the stand for the table. So this is just an absolutely beautiful piece of wood. I'm really happy that I was able to incorporate this into my little setup here. Now the second thing is this jade plant. I don't even know how old it is anymore. I keep saying it's over 15 years old, but it's probably close to 20 years old now. This is the plant that kind of started my love of plants, I guess you can say. It has been pruned countless times. I've made a number of different cuttings that I've given away. I've given them to friends. I've learned off of this plant. This is basically what started it all. So this one is very special to me. This is my Homalomania Sally, which I picked up a few months ago for, I think it was like $20 off of Facebook Marketplace. These leaves are gorgeous. This one gave me a little trouble at the start, but I've since learned to not let the soil dry out. This crispy, crusty thing is a Schismatoglottis. I can't remember which variety this is. I am still learning off of these plants or this genus of plants. I don't know if it's a humidity issue or if it is a light issue, but all of the older leaves, they get really crispy. The new ones come out fine. But I just can't keep this one looking good. But I'm not going to give up on these because they are beautiful. So I have 3 different varieties that are all looking the same. So I am trialing different placement. I think this is probably getting too much light, so I've placed a couple more down on the floor, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Here is a Philodendron Lynette. This is such a beautiful leaf structure. This one ends up being almost like a bird's nest pattern, so kind of a rosette, but it gets these beautiful kind of rippled leaves. This one, yeah, it's still a small plant. This is an Anthurium villanorum, I do believe. I'm not too sure what happened with this newest leaf. It came out perfect, and then I let it get a little bit dry, and now this is the state that it's in. It's just kind of a crinkled leaf, but it looks like it is going to be getting a new one here soon. Through this tour, you're going to see that I do not have perfect plants by any means, and I'm going to show you this one. This is the Anthurium, what is it? Marmoratum. So this, I'm not too sure what happened. I do believe it is a humidity issue, or I let it get too dry, but this is actually the second leaf that I got since owning this plant. That broken stem. I was vacuuming this area and I accidentally sucked up that leaf. Maybe it's a little angry from that leaf, so it's giving me this kind of messed up leaf, but the leaf size and shape is absolutely gorgeous. These ones, these are the original leaves that it came with, so they're looking really crispy. It's got these little dots on them. I haven't seen any pests on it. It's been treated. So yeah, they're looking pretty crunchy. Here is a Syngonium 3 Kings back here. Just notice it has a couple yellow leaves. That's okay because they are the older ones, so I'll pluck those off. Not looking the greatest. They look like just a little tree, so I might have to chop that down in order to get it to branch out and look a little bit more fuller. Here is my Alocasia Jacqueline. Here is, okay, well, I probably should have cleaned these leaves off before I did the tour, but here is the newest leaf. It's just in a small little pot and it has 3 plants in there, but here is the newest leaf. You can see there's a little bit of this sticky substance. It looks like water droplets. This is actually sap from all of these flowers on my Mona Lisa lipstick plant. I was filming a YouTube short the other day and I just sat here and watched sap drip down. So this table, I'll have to clean it off And then same with this Alocasia Jacqueline. I'm going to have to spray off the leaves, clean them up, making sure that they look healthy. Here's another larger leaf back here. Yeah, these petioles are super cool. I just like the design on them. So here is my little plant table. Now moving on down to the floor, the light is provided by this Mother Plant Spectrum light. I got another one there for some plants on planks. But down here, I have a small little Calathea arborfolia. I'm just trialing this one down here just to see how it does. I bought this probably about 3 months ago for like $5. Sweet deal. Here is a philodendron mame. I believe this is the silver. I was struggling with this plant in particular, coming out with deformed leaves. Every new leaf that it came out with, it was severely deformed. So this is the first normal leaf that I have gotten, and it looks like it's getting another one here soon. I just put it on the base of my plant table. Here's another Schismatoglottis. This is the silver form. These leaves are beautiful, but again, still getting these crispy leaves. If you know, or if you have success with these Schismatoglottis plants, let me know down in the comment section how you care for it. Here's a little humidifier, which I try and keep filled up just so it can provide ambient humidity for these plants. Now here are my 2 gloriosums, which I recently made a video for. I potted it up in this rectangular self-watering pot. I believe this one here is the dark form, and this is the just the regular gloriosum. I do have them placed like one at the front of the pot and one at the back, and my goal is to have them kind of pass along parallel to each other just so it can have a nice full pot. But this one, it's kind of leaning towards this way, so I have a feeling the direction is going to kind of go to the back, so that's okay. I'm going to just keep it like this and see what happens. Here is a philodendron glorious that I recently acquired. Looks like the newest leaf kind of got knocked off. I just put it on this little plank here just to see how that goes. Here is another Schismatoglottis. I'm trying to give it a little less light, so I'm placing it kind of, well, I guess I had this kind of covering it, so a little bit more of a shaded area. So I think that's what they need, is a little bit more of a darker area. So I'm going to try that out. This one right here is a Philodendron Tahiti. It's currently on a plastic moss pole. I absolutely love these plastic containers. I tried a few plants like this Splendid here on a homemade wire, like chicken wire moss pole. I hate these things. Whenever the plants outgrow these poles, I'm getting rid of them and I'll be replacing them with these plastic ones. I got these from North Shore Tropicals in Vancouver. She gave me a few of these to try when I received some plant mail. This plant right here is absolutely gorgeous, and I think I got it for like $15. It was just a smaller plant with, I think it only had these 2 leaves, or this one. Now it's gotten 2 more leaves since I've had it. Back here is a Syngonium chiapense, which I propagated from a cutting upstairs, and right now it's currently in water. So I'm just seeing how it does on the plank with the water setup. Back here is kind of my sad looking Philodendron verrucosum. I also placed this one on a moss pole like the tube style one a little while ago. I find these dry out so quick in my environment here, so like I said, I'm going to be switching them over to these plastic ones. Here is my Philodendron Majestic. It is on a cedar plank. I won this plant in an Instagram contest from her plant stories. So thank you for that. I have gotten 2 leaves since owning it. This is the newest one and it's a little bit smaller. So I'm not sure why it downsized a little bit. This one I absolutely love. These leaves are just gorgeous. Here is, like I kind of already mentioned, the Philodendron Splendid. I do have another one here as well. They're beside each other on the moss poles. This guy tucked way back here. Look at this leaf. This is gorgeous. This is the Philodendron Florida Green. It was sold to me as the pedatum, and I picked it up for like $5. I just have it on this little bamboo pole right now. I'll be hopefully putting it on a moss pole or something like that in the future here, but I want to try a plastic casing like this, but with an aeroid mix instead of the moss. I had to grab this chair because I'm 42 years old and it's difficult kneeling down here showing you guys the plants. Okay, here is an absolutely beauty of a unit. This is the Anthurium brownii. This is a plant that I won in a separate Instagram contest. This was from @Aroid Shop in, I believe it's Montreal. They sent me a grand prize package of houseplants and this was one of them. This is just absolutely beautiful. I got another larger leaf down here as well. It's just kind of tucked in with my Monstera deliciosa back here. This one down here is the Anthurium pedata radiatum. It gets these really cool finger-like leaves over time. You can see it has, I'll just pull it up, regular Anthurium leaves, like those, a regular kind of heart shape, but as it matures, then it gets these finger-like type leaves, and it's a pretty cool plant. Down here is a Xanthosoma lindii, I believe. This was, or is, one of Costa Farms' trending tropical plants. I love this one. I did have a smaller pot initially, but I killed it. It got root rot really fast, so I was able to find a smaller cutting, which I picked up, and it's doing wonderful. I was so happy to see this newest leaf. This one right here is the Sarcistus mirabilis, I believe it is. This I've had for probably about a year, and it's done literally nothing, but at the very base of the stem there, you can see just a small little growth point, which has now been there for probably a month. I did a little bit of research and found out these are extremely slow growing plants. So I was worried because it was getting some little bit of yellow and browning tips that I was killing it, but it's nice to see it getting what I think is a potential new leaf. Here is my Philodendron ploumanii. I absolutely love this one. I not only love it for the kind of like deep little valleys in the leaves there, the crevices, but the pattern on it, and also the back of the plant, this little rippled petiole. This is a crawling philodendron, so it just kind of creeps along the soil. Here is another Schismatoglottis. This is the Wallichii. I absolutely love this one. It reminds me so much of the Xanthosoma down there. I just want this one to do so well, but again, the older leaves, not as bad. They do get a little bit crispy, but I can't keep them alive. Back here is my propagated Homalomena selby from the mother plant on the table over there. Back here is my Philodendron El Choco Red. Here's the newest leaf, and it is getting a yellow one. Back here is my Philodendron SP Silver, just kind of tucked in with the Monstera. This cool looking plant back here is a Xanthosoma. I can't remember the actual name, but I believe this is the Frozen Planet, I think that's what it's called. I love this one. It's got these very dark, oh, it's getting a new leaf. Purple, I can't even bring plants out anymore. Oh, I don't know if that was like that or not. Nope, I think I just broke the stem. But it is getting a new leaf, but it has these gorgeous purple stems. I can't believe I just did that. Poor little leaf. Okay. Actually, it feels kind of soft, so I'm just gonna tear that off. I think it was dying. But anyways, it's getting a new leaf, so that's okay. It's getting a little full back here. This Monstera deliciosa, it's quite large. I cannot take this plant out of the back. I literally have to remove all of these plants in order to get this one out. So my plan is down the road, once it starts getting like holes in the leaves, perforations, then I plan on propagating it. It is on a moss pole as well, so that's kind of the plan with that. And then back here is just a regular old Silver Bay Aglaonema. This is just a kind of filler for this area. So to finish up this area, I'm just gonna go up to the plant shelf here. Here is a Mona Lisa lipstick plant. This thing is flowering like crazy, and it is so full. I had to take it off. Whoops, I just lost the flower. I had to take it to the shower to spray it off because it does have, like I said, all that kind of sticky sap, which I don't want. Yeah, look at these, just gorgeous leaves. You can see there's a little bit of sap. There'll be like a drop and then it'll just fall right off. Let's see if there's any other. Yeah, it looks like they're all done with their sap stuff, but this leaves a huge mess. Here's a gorgeous philodendron Brazil. This one actually had thrips a couple of years ago. I treated it with systemic, have not had an issue since. Over here is a propagated basket of golden pothos. These are all, or it started as individual leaf cuttings, and it's now grown into this beautiful, full, luscious basket. Here is a sad looking pot of philodendron micans. I did try and salvage one plant, which it completely dried out. So I took a number of individual leaf cuttings, and I'm trying to get it into a nice full pot again. Just seeing if there's any, yeah, there's some new growth points down there. So I'm not worried about these leaves. I want the new stems to start growing new vines. And just here's a global green pothos. This one right here is a propagated Hoya pottsii. These are, again, are all individual cuttings from the mother plant, and I've grown it into this very nice full pot of pottsii. Here is a fernleaf cactus. I absolutely love this plant. This is a propagated cutting off of the mother plant from upstairs. This one came from a huge full basket, and it is probably one of my favorite plants upstairs. This thing is just absolutely beautiful. I love the leaves. Here is a Queen of the Night cactus or orchid, whatever you want to call it. This was gifted to me as cuttings, propagated cuttings from my aunt. Yeah, this one's awesome as well. I can't wait till I get those Queen of the Night white flowers, big massive flowers. Here is my basket of Scindapsus trubii. Not really a huge fan of this plant, if I'm being honest, but it's just, yeah, it's just surviving. I'm going to slowly make my way to the plant workshop table here in a second, but I want to talk about this large birds of paradise, which is just off to the side of my plant table. I did have it placed where the monstera is right now. It was just kind of outgrowing that area. So I placed it just beside my plant table against the wall. It is receiving light from my Aspect Highland track system, so I'm hoping that it will do well in that spot. Okay, so now I'm gonna start with the edge of the plant workshop table. I got all my little gadgets and I gotta tidy this up, but here is a Dieffenbachia. I'm not even too sure what variety this is. It's getting quite tall. And here is my Dieffenbachia reflector. This thing is amazing. Look at the size of these leaves now. So I'm super happy that it is sizing up. This is a plant that a couple of years ago had thrips as well. I was able to save it. I treated it with topical spray as well as systemic, and it's growing quite beautifully. I absolutely love it. These leaves are just something else. Okay, here's a little Dieffenbachia sterling. This is a little propagated stem. This plant is, I don't know, it's pretty frustrating, but I'm not going to give up on it. This is probably, or it was taken from a cutting probably about 2 years ago. Here's what my Alocasia frydek looks like right now. Yeah, so I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with this. I might actually cut the main stem here, see if I can propagate it. Might turn into a little trial. I do have a couple frydek corms in my perlite prop box. This is a crystallinum, Anthurium crystallinum. These leaves, they size up quite nice since having it. This is a beautiful Anthurium. I love it. Here is my Alocasia cuprea. This one I'm going to put right here. These leaves, they're stunning. They're starting to size up, but I noticed this today. In inflorescence. I'm not too sure if I want it to flower. One thing I want to learn in the future here is how to breed alocasias and anthuriums. So I'm not too sure if I'm going to let this get to the pollen stage and maybe collect the pollen, put it in the freezer. I'm still doing some research on how to actually breed houseplants. So for right now, I'm just letting this continue to grow, and I'll continue to do some reading and research. Here's a newer plant that I acquired. This is the Philodendron Summer Glory. It is a cross between a Gloriosum and a Macaulay's. Here's the newest leaf. It got stuck, and I had to help it kind of unravel a little bit. So it did get a little bit of a damaged leaf, but gorgeous, gorgeous color on it. Here's an Alocasia Black Velvet. Not really a fan, because it has like this newest leaf, gorgeous, quickly becoming like this. So not a huge fan of this one right now. This is the Anthurium Forgetii. Look at this leaf. a perfect new leaf. This one's done really well for me. The damage right here is because when the leaves were forming, they were actually resting on the edge of the pot. So I don't know if the pot was wet at the time, but it just basically rotted this little area. So it just has a little bit of physical damage. This one is not resting on the edge of the pot. So I'm happy to see that I'll probably get a near perfect leaf with that one. Back here is my philodendron ring of fire. It's getting a new leaf. It's starting to unfurl. I have another forgetii right here, and you can see this one is also getting the tiniest new leaf. Same with this one. You can see it was resting on the edge of the pot. So I did try and prop it up. So I propped up the stem a little bit, and it looked like it was able to be salvaged. And then the last one back here is my alocasia silver dragon, which it came from the mother plant as well as propagations, and there was 2 little corms. I planted, or I potted them up all together. Here is the newest leaf that is starting to pop out. Just gorgeous. And then they obviously harden off into this kind of silvery pattern. If you've never felt an alocasia dragon scale or silver dragon, the leaves literally feel like hard plastic. It's such a weird feeling. The newest leaf, quite soft, and then I got these tiny little corms that are potted in this as well. Now I came to the back of the plant area. I'm going to talk about the ones on this side. This is my Hoya polyneura. I just made a care and propagation video about this one, so I'm not going to talk too much about this, but these are all from propagated single leaf cuttings, and they've grown into this beautiful plant. I can't remember which anthurium this is, but it is a bird's nest. I think it's like a Gemenii, or I can't remember what it's called. This has such a cool leaf shape, and it grows in kind of that bird's nest kind of rosette pattern. This is one of my favorite anthuriums. This is the Magnificum. This is an absolutely beautiful leaf, and it looks like it's getting another one there as well. So I think this is one of the original ones. Again, getting a little crispy there. It was just basically acclimating to my environment, but this one is near perfect. There's hardly any blemishes on it. There's no physical damage. It just has a little bit of a crispy edge down there. Here is another one of my favorites. This is the cross between the Magnificum and the Crystallinum. And the leaves, they're absolutely beautiful. It has a bit of a bigger silvery vein pattern. Just gorgeous. And this one is getting a new leaf as well. So these are probably my 2 favorite anthuriums right now. Here is the Anthurium variegated hookery. This is a cool one. And this is the newest leaf, I do believe. Just has a very faint kind of yellowish variegation on the leaves. This guy right here is the Domino Peace Lily. It's got a few crispy leaves, but this one needs some water. So lots of new leaves on this one. Beautiful variegation. I have 2 kind of messed up anthurium. This is the Clarinervium. Yeah, this is the kind of most normal looking leaf, but it's a little bit deformed. And here is another one that I picked up for relatively cheap. I think it was like $20. So it's got a number of different growth points in there. My plan, oh, it's getting a new little leaf here as well. 2 new little leaves. My plan for this one was to experiment with this, chop it up, propagate it, see if there's different ways of getting it to grow and grow healthy, because it's not doing the greatest. They're all, well, this one's not a bad leaf, but yeah, just experimenting with this one. Here is a beautiful one. This is a hybrid between the Queen Anthurium as well as the Magnificum. This leaf is absolutely beautiful. And then here is a reverted. This one is looking a little crusty. This is the Philodendron Burl Marks. This is a plant that I wanted to experiment with as well, because look at the growth pattern on it, just crazy. I know TechPlant did a video on this plant, and it's kind of bizarre growth patterns. So yeah, this is a weird one. So I'm okay with it being reverted. It's still beautiful. This one's really dirty though. Back in this corner over here, this is a Birds of Paradise. It's basically a stick. I chopped off all the leaves. I'm just experimenting with this plant just to see if I can get it to regrow. Here is a large Monstera deliciosa cutting that I bought for like $10. And look at this cutest little leaf down here. So got a large one, and then check this one out. Just the tiniest little thing with the perforations there. So yeah, that's a beautiful one. Here is my Ficus elastica robusta. This is the top cutting. I propagated it recently. This one had basically one stem. When I took the top cutting off, it branched out in one area. So I cut it back to one node below that, and now it's getting 3 new branches, and it's got a few other growth points lower in the stem, which I'm gonna chop off. So this is now gonna be a tree-like structure, like 1 main stem and then 3 branches. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. That's looking gorgeous. Here is a propagated Dieffenbachia from upstairs. I'm not even too sure, or I can't even remember what the name of this one is. So I have a ton of plants on the floor as well, but I think I'm gonna start off with my plants on planks. This is the Syngonium Frosted Heart. This one is doing really well. It's always looking really good. This little leaf down there is the Epipremnum pinnatum. This is the yellow flame. They were from propagated cuttings, and yeah, there is 2 in there, but the original leaves, they basically fell off. So it's just got the tiniest little leaf. So that'll grow up on the plank. Here is my Cebu or Cebu Blue. You can see it's sizing up quite nice. And look at the newest leaf. These are just absolutely gorgeous. And I think it has just the tiniest little perforation or hole. So this one does really well on the plank. I think I have 3 different cuttings in there. Down here is the Philodendron giganteum. This is the variegated one. It's getting a new leaf. This is going to be a huge plant in probably a few years. Here is what's left of my Philodendron fuzzy petiole. I chopped up the main plant to propagate it. When I placed the cuttings in soil, they didn't do so well. So this one is all that I have left. I think there's, looks like 3 cuttings in there. And I want this to grow up on the plank as well, getting, again, those fuzzy petioles. Here is a Syngonium albo. This plant I've had for well over a year, and this is all it does for me. I can't get it to size up. I don't know what it is with this, but gorgeous leaves. I absolutely love Syngonium, so I really want this one to start growing. I fertilize it, I do everything, and it just doesn't like me. This is the Philodendron pastizanum. Not looking the greatest. This is the newest leaf. Again, I attribute that to just kind of acclimating to my environment, but it is getting another leaf right there. This is a crawling philodendron. Here's another marble queen that I started on a plank. It's got beautiful variegation. This one I didn't have to add any plant supports at all. It trained itself right from the start, right from the bottom of the soil to latch onto the plank. Here is an Epipremnum pinnatum. This is the Baltic Blue. Got some cuttings in there. This is the Alocasia regal shield. This was from a small little corm, I believe. And you can see a couple corms popping out of the soil right there. And then here's another one as well. So I have 2 cuttings. This is one of my favorite plants. This is the Alocasia gagiana aurea. This is a tissue culture plant from Edmonton. I bought it off of a seller from Etsy. It was just a small little cutting, and it's growing quite nice. I love these kind of elephant ear alocasias. Here is my Thai constellation monstera, and it's getting the newest, cutest little leaf. Here is one healthy looking leaf, and here's one yellow leaf, but the newest one I'm really happy about. It looks like it's got some nice variegation coming in. I can't remember which alocasia this is. I did have it outside in the summer. I actually did a plant trade, and I can't even remember what I gave away. But this is a huge bulb. This plant was absolutely massive. It was probably about 3 feet tall, maybe a little bit taller. It starts with a P. It's like Portia or something like that. So I did chop it up because the leaves were filled with spider webs and bugs and stuff, and I didn't want to bring it inside and just kind of destroy the rest of my collection. So I did cut off all the leaves, I cut off all the roots, put it in a dark area in my garage until it started getting to colder temperatures, and I brought them inside. This has been rooting now for about maybe a month. I just placed it on my heating pad to kind of speed up that process as well. So this is going to be a huge plant once it starts to grow. Here is a Epiprenum pinnatum. This is the just regular green variety or green form. I did place it on a moss pole. It's looking pretty good. Here's another Syngonium chiapense that I have in an aroid mix. It's on a plank there as well. These ones have some pretty nice roots, aerial roots. I don't know if you can see it down there on the plank. So Syngoniums do well on planks. It's going to start getting a little bit crowded in this area. I have this mother plant spectrum grow light here as well. Here is my Anthurium regale, which when I bought it, if you don't know the story behind it, I bought it off Facebook Marketplace. It was being propagated in water, with a huge stem or chunk. I did pot it up in some soil and it quickly rotted. I lost the the original leaf. This is the newest leaf since having it in my care. I rooted it in perlite. I've now potted it up in this gorgeous pottery, and it's in a chunky aroid mix, and it looks like it's going to be getting a new leaf here soon as well, or hopefully it does. But this was a wish list plant. I love it. The massive leaf is absolutely gorgeous. Here is a global green pothos, which I put recently on a plank, and it's got some pretty cool variegation on it. Hopefully that one takes. And then here behind it is a Monstera silvipacana. This one is a little bit more finicky when it comes to adhering to the plank, and now it's just kind of, I don't know, migrating to the side. I'm not too sure why that is. Here's my golden pothos on a plank. This one has some crazy aerial roots. I don't know why it's losing a few leaves. I recently repotted it, maybe like a month ago. Look at these crazy aerial roots on this guy. These things are chunky. So it's growing up, it's sizing up. My plan is to air layer this top section of the stem, and as it outgrows this plank, I'm going to take that top section and pot it up in its own new pot so that it can continue to size up. But oh, it's getting a new leaf. Now right beside the golden pothos is another golden pothos. This is the Hawaiian golden, and this one is doing really well. I love the variegation on this. And then here is my absolutely favorite plants on planks. This is a marble queen pothos. Oh, I don't want it to break. I don't want it to bend. These leaves are just something else. You can see here's one of the original ones, just tiny little leaves, and as it grows up the plank, they get quite a bit larger. So this one has done really well. It's definitely my favorite plant on plank right now. I don't know if I can show you some of these aerial roots, but without breaking it. I have a Syngonium mojito back here. This one is losing some of the older leaves, but then this one is still looking decent. And then for the last few plants here on the floor, this is the Colocasia mojito. This one's a little bit more difficult. It needs to be in like consistently moist soil, and it needs a ton of light. So I have it right underneath my Soltech Aspect grow light there, and it seems to like this area. It currently has 2 leaves. Here is an Alocasia. I believe this one is called the Lukiwan. Yeah, it's got a little bit of discoloration there, so I'm gonna have to investigate, see if there's any pests on this one. It's got a little spotting, so yeah, I'll have to check that one out. A little suspicious. Here's just another Colocasia. I'm not even sure which one this is. And then my Philodendron Birkin. And to finish it off, oh no, not to finish it off, I got a couple more plants. This is, I don't even know what kind it is, but it is an Alocasia elephant ear. This was a little side cutting from a much larger plant that I had outside. To finish off my plant tour of my basement is my large Sensation Peace Lily. It's getting a new leaf right here. These leaves are giant. They are absolutely massive and I love it. And then I just have a regular peace lily down here, which it is, it did have a flower, but it is now getting another one here as well. So I think that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. I know I missed a few plants. I just have a bunch of pothos on my windowsill, just kind of behind you here. I'm sure I missed a couple down in the plant area and on my plant table. There will be a part 2 with all of my houseplants upstairs, but in the meantime, if you wanna watch another houseplant video, click this one right here. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. Take care, bye.